If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone and computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more other outlets. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What up, everybody? Welcome to a fresh episode of New Dawn Podcast. Timbo, let the people know who we are.
We are the Madden Sim Revolution, also known as the MSR. And man, oh man, I am excited for this episode tonight. We want to thank everyone who sponsors and support us, mainly StubHub. StubHub.com is now a partner and sponsor of the New Dawn Podcast. StubHub is the world's largest ticket marketplace with tickets available for over 10 million live sports, music, and theater events in more than 40 countries. They enable experience seekers to buy and sell tickets whenever and wherever they are through their desktop and mobile experiences. StubHub is a partner and sponsor of the New Dawn Podcast. We want to welcome into our space and community. But Falco, get right to it because we have a great list of guests.
Yes, sir. Today's episode is going to be a commissioner episode, and we brought in a bunch of commissioners from across the CFM community. Starting off with BSK, the Commissioner of Destiny, a No Switch League. BSK, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good tonight. How y'all fellas doing?
Doing good, man. Doing well. Hanging in there. We're also joined with Nick Larson, the Commissioner of XCFL, No Switch League as well. Nick, how you doing?
Not too bad, man. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it.
Not a problem, man. And last but not least, of our special guest, we have a Commissioner of the Soden Bowl, Mr. Soden himself. How you doing, Mr. Soden?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. And the MSR guest and commissioner of his very own league as well, King of Wakanda. Wakanda, how you doing, my man?
I'm excited to be here, man. I'm excited we got the baritone game in here, man. A lot of deep voices. This should be a great podcast. Now I don't feel out of place.
Yeah, I got to lower down my voice. Let's start. Guys, fellas, let's go ahead and start off here with the first topic. We had a major movement here with Madden 21 when it was announced, and it was the hashtag Fix Franchise. BSK, let's start with you, man. Do you feel like our voices were heard with that hashtag?
No, not at all. I mean, I think if anything, the minute and 10, 15 second video they posted was more so just a pacify to say, yeah, we're going to do something for y'all, but that's what we've been hearing for, the whole generation so far, since we won the Xbox One and PS4?
Yeah. I mean, it's we haven't seen any kind of consistent changes. Really, we've seen a lot of EA Sports taking a lot of stuff away from the franchise mode. Nick, let's go with you. How do you feel about the hashtag movement?
I mean, I think it was a step in the right direction that they actually acknowledged that there was a huge movement. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see as much change that we all want to see. It's just that we, us 32-man CFMs are just such a small, tiniest percentage of what they're kind of marketing towards. What we want to see is so much different than what makes them money and everything like that. So when it comes down to it, I think it's cool they acknowledged it, but acknowledging only does so much. You got to come through with something for us, or else it's all for nothing,
Yeah. So, what did you feel like whenever they released that video acknowledging the hashtags? How did that make you feel?
Well, I think for the first time in a long time, the CFM community was in unison, and I think that's one of the big reasons why we haven't seen any real progress in the franchise for some years, is because as a community, we're kind of all over the place. Many different leagues, a lot of leagues competing with each other. Nobody's really voicing the same thing until that hashtag Fix Franchise.
Yeah. Timbo, how you feel about it?
Kind of in line with BSK. I was like, it didn't really do too much because, look, I think to Soden's point, yes, we were all united. We were all making some noise, sharing the hashtag amongst the leagues, guys, just trying to rally together. But it just kind of felt a little shallow. It just kind of felt like, okay, let's just get something out because we do acknowledge this. I mean, we had a couple of NFL players that, were saying, hey, you guys need to address franchise mode. We're big fans of the mode. But it just still kind of felt very on the surface, very, just kind of relaxed. It was just kind of done to maybe appease the crowd. It's all about the action for me. I'm not a big one into a lot of noise and things that sound good for the moment. It's all about the action for me. I like to see it done. And, to see a lot of the response from the guys in the community, I still think people are still wondering what's going on. I think the first week, or not even first week, first 3 or 4 days of the hashtag, everyone seemed to make a lot of noise about it. It was cool. It was going around. But I still think overall it was almost like for the hype. Like a lot of things happened early. A lot of acknowledgement came early, but we still haven't seen anything, no tea leaves. That update came out almost like gridiron notes. It just seemed very, it just seemed very like, haphazard, so I really want to see what comes of it, to move forward as 21 approaches. We had the beta, a lot of good feedback from the beta itself, but in terms of franchise mode, man, we need a little bit more in terms of being addressed.
And if I can hop in real quick, and the funny thing is now is some of the people that are still pushing for it in the community on Twitter and things, people are actually mocking them now. Like, why are you still doing this? Like, it's getting old.
Like the hashtag doesn't really have a lot of weight almost now. It's like folks are just talking about it. Oh yeah, like even look, don't get me wrong. Like it's something I still post and when we're doing our league promotions and things like that. And I feel very strong about the hashtag. I really am putting it out there. I want to get awareness for it. But in terms of an overall feel, in terms of what a lot of guys are, in terms of being bought into the hashtag, I think that win has kind of come and gone. In terms of the noise, it's just now it's about the action. We want to see it really, come to fruition in terms of what we're going to see. So it kind of seems like it's falling on deaf ears to me. And I don't know. I don't know what's going to come of it, man. But I'm still trying to stay optimistic.
I think with this franchise hashtag fixed franchise movement, it's a good movement. But I think that as consumers and as gamers, we need to take a step back and look at this. One, we're working through a pandemic here, so these guys are at home, working from home, doing a lot of this stuff on the game. That's not an excuse because a lot of these guys begin work on the new game, almost as that game is put on shelves, so to speak. But we are in the midst of a brand new console coming out, next gen. Now, if you look back in history, especially Madden history, you look at some of the next gens that's been put out, it's been a watered down version of Madden. That's because, in my opinion, they don't know what they're working with yet with that next generation console. So to me, I don't think they really truly have a game plan of what's going to happen until they can get that product into a next gen console. Maybe there's a lot more they can do with that. So, they're not going to release that because, again, they have competitors out there. They have shareholders and all that they have to satisfy. So I think that a lot of this franchise improvement is going to happen on the next gen console.
If they do release anything too, if they don't reach those goals, then it just gives the community a ton of ammo to fire back at them with too for not doing what they said again. And I think that's why we haven't seen any updates at all, really, since the one video they responded to us with.
Yeah, that's a great point about the new console. That's something that didn't even cross my mind. Truly, if I was in their shoes, I would also wait. I would wait for the new console to come out to see what I'm working with. Wakanda, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I mean, I was just kind of going to summarize what everybody's kind of alluded to so far, and that's a couple things. On the one hand, you want to be optimistic and believe people at their word and hope that they're working in the best interest of the community. But a couple things. One, we're the smallest cross-section of users of the product because it is a product. It's a game for us, and it's something we're passionate about. And we have communities that thrive off of this product that comes out yearly, but it is a product. So that's number one. The second piece of it, kind of like Sean alluded to, we're in unusual times, so that kind of is going to impact their ability to go into development and production and QA and implementation and all those things that you would need in a normal dev cycle, which Madden is annual, so that makes it a little bit challenging too. But then the second thing is also being cognizant and being mindful of what the past has shown us. And Sean kind of talked about this with new generations, right? So if we go back, and this is my personal opinion, I'm not going to speak for anybody else on this podcast. The 3 worst Maddens in the history of the franchise have all been new generations. So that'd be Madden 25 on the current generation. That'd be Madden 06 on 360.
Yeah.
And then it would be, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think it was 01 that was the first one on PS2. Those would be the 3 worst ones that I can think of offhand, not including this current generation, because I don't think any of them have been particularly great. But the ones that stand out worse than those is exactly what you guys kind of alluded to. You're getting to that point where half of the team is deployed to fix current issues on current gen, and you have the other half of your team trying to prepare for next gen, and they're pulling people back as you get closer and closer to the rollout for that new console. It's tough for me to look at the history of a company this big. They're not going to deviate from what's worked for them, and working to them might be different than working for us. Working for us, our goal might be something different than what they're looking at. It is different, I would argue. So I don't really have a reasonable expectation that we're going to see some of the immersion and changes to the game that we want, because again, I would argue that we're not the target audience. So on the one hand, yes, do I want it? Do I want to see those things happen? Absolutely. But if I look at the behavior of this company and I look at the past things that have happened in the past, and then knowing what I know now, what do I expect? No. So, but that's basically, an agreement with a lot of the things that you guys had already said.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, Madden 25, I remember it being complete trash. I actually played, you guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, the Microsoft game, NFL game that they came out with. And that one blew my mind because it kept track of career stats, and you can break. It was like the first game that you can break career stats, and the announcers acknowledge your player breaking the stats. I thought that was groundbreaking, and man, I remember throwing Madden 25 away. I was like, man, this is garbage compared to this. But great point, Wakanda. But yeah, Wakanda, let's go back to you on this. What do you want to see in franchise mode and in the CFM community?
So this is kind of a conversation that Tim and I have had previously, probably like last year and then the year before that as well. What I want to see and what I think will happen are 2 different things. What I look at as far as because you have to look at the foundation of the game, right? So the game is on the Frostbite engine. I believe this is year 2 or year 3 that they're on the Frostbite engine. A good way to always look at a game is to look at whatever the predecessor is, or if there's something on a similar engine by this design company. So we know that Tourbillon makes the Madden games, but we also know that EA Sports Vancouver makes FIFA. FIFA's 2 years ahead of Madden on the Frostbite engine. If you compare player movement, the gameplay, and how the player models look, I think that FIFA is what you have to look at when you're looking at what we should expect from Madden. So what I want to see in the game is some of the customization and stuff that we see in other AAA titles, whether that be, Diamond Dynasty with MLB The Show, whether that be My League with 2K, stuff that was in Madden previously in Madden 08, Madden 09, Madden 07. And so on and so forth as far as with franchise and the customization. But then the other piece of it is too, is like we're saying, it's a publicly traded company. They have shareholders that they need to satisfy. What's the likelihood of there being, open source coding and, in a AAA title, a sports title at least. Those are things that will remain to be seen, and we'll see if that happens next gen. My guess tells me that it won't happen, but that's what I would want. I would just want the door to be open for the community to, take the reins, if you will, if that kind of makes sense. Do I think that'll happen? Probably not. But I think that's how you're able to, bring that customization. Like if you look at this current dev cycle that just happened with 20, where they had these house rules. The sim community's been asking for house rules for years, as long as I've been playing in leagues. So we know that it can be done, but the argument used to be that it couldn't be done. So we know that it can be done. So how is that something that not go to a certain subset of your customer base that wants it? That argue, a lot of us, frankly, we got No Switch Commissioner in here, where you could have those things be in the game and it not be a rule that has to be enforced. Just things like that, where it's like, okay, those are things where I feel like that's a reasonable want. That's not necessarily a need, but a reasonable want that Madden has, the powers that be at Madden have shown can be in the game. So it's like, why can't we have those? So just things like that.
Yeah, I can agree with that. What about you, BSK? What do you want to see in Madden and in the CFM community?
I'm selfish. I want it all. Give me all the features. Give me everything. Matter of fact, give me the stuff you took from me 10 years ago. Let's start with that, and then we can work our way forward about the additional stuff. But you pop in NCAA 14, and you have coaching carousel. You develop your assistant coaches. You have recruiting, your promises, things of that nature. Unless somebody locked the door to the office or the key to the desk and then left the building, all that stuff should still be there. Why can't we have it in the game? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, that's a fair point. The coaching carousel, that was amazing. Like, I would love to see that in Madden, the upgrading the coaches as well. Whatever can help Falco win, that's what I want to see. But BSK, what do you want to see in the CFM community?
I mean, the house rules, as a commissioner, the house rules are like, that would make life so much easier. You wouldn't have to have 2 or 3 pages worth of rules for this, rules for that. It's all right there built in. That's what we need. It's there. Give it to us.
Yeah.
Right.
What about you, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, the house rules, absolutely. It was nice to see they added a little bit of roster management tools for the admins, at least, because that was directed, I think, specifically towards multiple user CFMs, locking the overall of who could be cut, and different things like that. Yep. I do wish you had more admin control, whether it's resetting game results or, recreating situations if games drop, or having those games, something like that, where we can, if somebody is suspended for breaking a rule, you can bench that player the staff can go on and just bench that player.
Right.
You just need
which is in
control.
2K, by the way.
Yeah,
so like if you have a player in the league and let's say he's the number 1 seed and you're having issues with rules and you have to remove that guy, you can then go back and change the results that team had so that you get that team out of the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's huge, because I mean, if somebody does break a rule in the playoffs but wins, you remove the guy and then the CPU goes on and plays somebody else. It's a lose-lose for everybody involved. So that'd be a big change. As far as what I want to see with the Madden and everything, though, I think the biggest thing for me, I want a scouting overhaul. It's just so basic, man, and it's been the same way for so long, with just three attribute grades and then a combine that's not even always accurate. Just give us a couple more options, whether it's attending a pro day or something where you might get a couple other attributes, or you can go to hold a few extra workouts for some players. And then I want to see the draft. The draft has been the exact same, and I think it's gotten worse over the years. Like, now literally you just see the guy's name, the height and weight pop up, and then it moves on, and everybody should have access to viewing the player card of the guy drafted. It would make our lives a lot easier hosting these draft shows. You wouldn't have to make all these graphics if it was just, universal, everybody could see it. And then player movement for me is a huge one, because, I mean, our rules, we're in the minority where we have a very strict set of, we're the no user INT rules, and so for us, a lot of that is because you can take the 90 speed middle linebacker and cover the entire field, and it just isn't possible. You shouldn't be able to bite on a play action and then get all the way back and stop the deep post, stuff like that for me. So those would be the big ones.
Yes, Soden, what about yourself?
Well, this is a little bit of a tricky one, because we've been competing basically with the same league since 2009, so I didn't even think we had a draft back then. But looking at this thing, I compiled a list, and I've already submitted my list to the powers that be, so we'll see if anything happens. But my list was pretty easy. I want applicational management. It's 2020. Why can't we process trades from our phone? Why can't we?
Used to be able
much
to.
like Nick said, why can't we reverse the results of a game that was played? Why can't we reset it at least? These are things that should be done on the phone. I mean, we could draft from the phone. Why not do that so that people don't miss the draft? Again, 2020, why can't we cross-play? You know how cool it would be to play some of our PlayStation guys? That would be fantastic. We're missing a huge thing with the NFL here, if you want to compare Madden to the NFL, and that's practice. These guys practice all week long for a game that's played on Sunday, sometimes Monday, right? Why can't we practice during our time and improve our players via practice, or even improve our game plan, or throwing the coaching tree where you have your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, and they influence, some of these abilities these players have, or even how they perform during your game. If you're practicing, a Patriots 5 years ago style offense, a dink and dunk screen offense, you shouldn't be able to go out there and just air it out. I mean, you should really have to practice what you play. So I think
so almost like knowledge of the system, like head coach. That was in head coach and head coach 09.
Sure, and that's actually in my list, was to combine head coach with Madden, even as a second product for CFM guys.
Wow. Okay.
I would buy that.
Now you're talking.
Come get my money.
Yeah, that was good.
Absolutely.
You got the muck guys who drop cash. You have the muck guys that drop cash. I have no problem with that. You want to, want to pay DLC, for how you play. That's your prerogative. Give us something in the CFM. I'll support it. Give me a download for CFM. I'll pay it. I'll pay some money to get those abilities, to get a head coach style format for all of us.
Wow.
I'm down with that. I mean, that would be amazing. I mean, I'd have to ask my wife if I could buy it, but after that, I'll be down. Timbo, what about you, man? How do you feel about it?
Man, for me, I think I don't need that much to be super happy. But one thing I would say, I think someone alluded to it earlier, but being able to restructure contracts like we used to Madden's ago. I think the improvement of the scouting and the draft class. I mean, I remember what seems like a eon ago, but being able to play. My boys and I, what really got me into this EA Sports, Madden, just the whole field of franchise. I would go through and just play. I would go through Dynasty and NCAA, and me and my boys would, we would play 4 or 5 seasons in a row, and then we would come back to Madden with 4 classes ready to go because we would have a franchise up and running, and now we would be able to run our franchise, and then we could import those draft classes in and literally just get that direct, correlation NCAA and Madden. Of course, now with NCAA not being back in rotation right now, it's real. I think that's been a key part that most people forget about, because that was it was just such a connection to the college game. Just being able to have not these, cookie cutter random, what's his name? Mike Drunkenmiller type players coming into the draft. It would just, you would know the name coming in, you would know the guys to look for. You would have an idea of the people. Mind you, these would be some of the people you've recruited. So, these are things where you'll be able to have that kind of, direct, just direct tie to college. That's been my thing, because I am a college football junkie. I live for Saturdays, man. That's just my, that's my quiet time. That's just my zen. That's just when I'm really locked in, to the fall and football. So to be able to have that feeling of, putting a lot of work, and of course you're playing, and then you're looking 2-3 classes ahead. You can remember these names, right? You know the people that are coming, because they may be freshmen in 2020, but then by 2023, this guy's probably going to be pretty good, so you can kind of have that little bit of foresight. But yeah, like the contracts is a big thing for me, because I'm huge on managing money, and of course owner's mode, something that the MSR will be going back to for 21. That's a big thing for me, because I love to be able to manage the money. I'm a person that's, I will pat myself on the back and say I never have contract issues. I always know how to take care of the financial part. So being able to renegotiate deals ahead of time. And, another thing, in terms of what you said about having in the CFM community, the house rules is something that I think we can all agree on also, because for myself in our community right now, we've had to have a lot of parameters put in place for certain things that I don't like to have parameters for, but just for the greater good and just to stop certain things from being able to be options, we have to put those things in place. I would like to have that, certain things be embedded into the game, because you can already just go ahead and toggle those things. You can already just make those movements, not have to worry about them. And then everyone already knows what's expected. And they'll know, hey, look, we're turning this on, we're turning that off. We're not worrying about this, we're not worrying about that. Now we don't have to worry about going to a website, going to data, be able to do things, roster management, things like that. Again, I'm optimistic that these things can be thought of and, eventually put into play. But it's just, again, it's almost like, you speak about the history of the business, how EA is kind of over time had great ideas, and then it seems like they put more money into other spaces where now you forget about some of those little small nuances that really make the franchises glow and cook the way that we like to. I really, again, I say before, I'm a simple guy. I really don't ask for much. A lot of these people that are on Twitter going at these devs and talking about things, they don't really know what they want. They're just spitballing and throwing a lot of stuff at them and giving them a lot of grief. But I really feel like at a bare bones level, there's a lot of simple things that these people can put into the game to really get the most maximum experience that you guys in the franchise are looking for.
And see, that's the thing that drives me insane is it's things that we've had before. We're not asking for a whole bunch of brand new stuff. You got people going at devs over neck rolls and mouthpieces and stuff like that. Like, come on, bro. If you playing that, you might as well go play The Sims and make your dude look all funny and crazy. But we're talking about football here. And at its core, it's team building and setting up a philosophy that actually matters. Taking advantage of a mismatch man to man, not kind of swerving around what the AI does and what it doesn't do.
I love that.
You have to fix the gameplay and give us these things that you've already taken away from us while you're supposed to be fixing the gameplay.
Right.
Because if you remember, one of the last things Rex said was they took resources from Madden to go to NBA Live and to go to NHL so that they could create kind of a core franchise experience. But we have never seen any of that come to fruition when it comes to Madden.
Right. And to piggyback off of that, that's a great segue to what I was going to say. You mentioned that kind of that synergy that was supposed to happen across the platforms for franchise. I live in Minnesota. So I don't know anything about hockey, but I just so happen to have some employees that work for me, and we have an Xbox at our job. And I just so happened to was playing NHL the other day. Don't play it. They have Fog of War, an NHL franchise. That's something we've been asking for in Madden for almost 10 years. And I was playing it, and he's like, "Yeah, you can't see the other team's player ratings unless your staff is good enough. So play Team A's staff might have these ratings, so the player ratings for the other team look like this, and then to you, they look completely different." So I was just like, wow, so this can be in the game, but it's just not for whatever reason. It's just very interesting that you guys have all brought up these interesting points. I mean, for me, it's kind of like I got into Madden just from playing in the tournament scene. I wasn't even interested in CFM. I was more interested in kind of what Tim talked about, playing, NCAA, getting my classes, and then playing a solo franchise. But then as more and more stuff got taken out of it, then you kind of try to find, Operation Sports and Pasta Padre and Sports Gamers Online, trying to figure out, okay, what happened in the game? Why doesn't this work properly? Why doesn't this slider impact this? And then you find all these other people that are in the wilderness, so to speak. And that was kind of what attracted me to communities. But yeah, you guys touched on all these interesting points. Like you said, the contracts, being able to backload contracts, being able to amnesty people, restricted free agency, scouting throughout the entire year and not just 3 things, being able to work out prospects, being able to have the Senior Bowl, being able to do the combine with the prospect. All that stuff was in Madden previously. So that I share that same frustration. So it'd be one thing if we hadn't ever, and never seen it, but it's almost worse to know what the game could be and has been, and then to see what we have now, where it seems like it should be going the inverse, where it should be improving year after year after year. It feels like it's going the opposite direction, where we're getting less and less and less as we move to 1080p and 4K and all this other stuff. The player models look great, but the rest of the gameplay, it seems to be going the opposite direction.
Yep.
Well, it's like any other product. You have to keep me addicted to the product. And to keep me addicted to the product after listening to a lot of these gentlemen in here, some very good commissioners, if I was a game dev, and there better be a game dev listening to this podcast, because they would get some very good information from this. You need to update your admin abilities, and then you need to work on some form of a head coach incorporation from your head coach game into Madden, and you need to expand upon the NCAA product, whether that is do what you did old school and release an NCAA game and let those rosters export into your franchise. That would be really cool. Or even, practice like you guys just touched on. Practice modes for your players, maybe scouting where you actually physically have to play and work these guys out to get their ratings and not just hit A or X, whatever button it is on whatever console you're playing on, to go ahead and sim and get your ratings that are generated for you.
Yeah, well, I just wonder, Soden, I have a question for you specifically.
Sure.
Do you think there's even a realistic? Because I've been having conversations. The PC community is the smallest of the consoles. They have the smallest community, but they have an advantage over the other, in my opinion, over the other two communities where they can go in and change stuff. Is that something you think that would even be viable for the console communities? Because I feel like if we had even a door, to be able to go through, that our community would go in themselves and fix a lot of those things, or present the options available to us. Do you think that would be even something they would even entertain?
Well, you're talking about modifying the actual game, right? Like going in and modifying that. I don't think will be an option for a console, because that opens up a whole new slew of potential miscomings or shortcomings for the game. People going in and just screwing stuff up. But they could release something. Whereas, it's a game editor type thing, kind of like Doug Flutie's football has. Right. I think Axis does it too, where you can go in and just straight up edit everything. I think they could incorporate something like that, but I don't know.
Or even the customization of 2K, where like 2K, you can go in and from basically how Madden used to be, where you could build the stadium, the court, what it looked like, the uniforms, the players that were on the team to start, what your financial situation was. All that stuff is in my league. So it's like, why can't we get that? Now I get it that, that's but 2K has other sports games. That was the other thing. I was going to give them an excuse and say, hey, that, 2K is 2K. But 2K has other, Take-Two Interactive has other AAA sports titles that they put out. So I don't even understand how we got to this point, if that makes sense.
I think you have to look at the NFL license too. I'm willing to bet you the NFL has a lot to do with what Madden can do. From injuries, you notice you don't have concussions on.
The helmets don't pop off anymore either.
Yeah, the ambulance used to come out and get you off the field. Well, we all know now that the NFL put the clamps on that because they want the image of a safe product. So you have to look at that stuff, and you have the licensing with the teams. These franchises like Raiders. They want to be advertised in this game, whereas they probably lose some profit if they just allow you to totally revamp the game.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. But still, I would love to be able to just have full control. That's basically what all we're asking for, is just to have control of what we're doing in our franchise. EA is really just handcuffing us. Like you all said, it doesn't make any sense. Like when I get on a FIFA career mode, like their game engine is just so much better. Like I feel like players flow so much better in FIFA than it does in Madden, and it doesn't make any sense.
That's why I'm hopeful. That's why I said what I said before, is because FIFA, I know you guys are savvy and remember it, but for our audience, we went from the Ignite engine to Frostbite. I believe we're in 20 now, so I believe that was 18. FIFA went to Frostbite in either 17 or 16, so they're 1 or 2 years ahead of the Madden team. Also, keep in mind that EA Sports Vancouver, allegedly, that staff size is much larger than Turbion, which is who makes Madden. So they're 2 years ahead, but you're absolutely right. That's what keeps me hopeful, because it's like, maybe we'll get to that point, because like you said, I think almost all of us have probably played FIFA. The gameplay in FIFA, aside from maybe the show, is the best in AAA, I think. The customization isn't there. That's kind of the same, feedback that their community gives. But their gameplay is it's really, really good. So that's what keeps me hopeful for Madden. I think we're all hopeful when we play the beta and see some of the change of direction stuff and the things they made. I know Nick mentioned, being able to cover 3 levels of the field with a 90 speed, 65 play rec, linebacker in the middle of the field. The way the beta played, it didn't seem like that was going to happen anymore. And they replaced the elusiveness with change of direction. But it was just interesting to see, like, hearing you guys' perspective and hearing, like, okay, these are our concerns, but we have general themes. We have different expectations for the game and the community, but we have a general consensus of, hey, more customization, and basically more response time from the devs, and give us some of the stuff back that we already have.
Yeah, totally agree with it. By the way, I am a god in FIFA, so whoever out there wants to come at me, come at me. Let's move on.
Hit the button.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next topic here. Life of a commissioner. Because not a lot of people out there know the ins and outs, the daily routine, the daily grind of a commissioner. Nick, let's start with you on this one. What's the daily life of the XCFL commissioner?
Oh man, I mean, I love it. It's a ton of fun. First off, I'm going to say that you have a ton on your plate. That's why you have to surround yourself with a good staff and responsible players throughout the league. But I mean, whether it's handling gameplay issues or making sure everybody's on time, getting their game scheduled. I mean, there's just so much that goes into it that you just said. Nobody has a clue outside of the CFM community. But if you really can get a good group of guys together, it can really lighten your load, and that's kind of what we have in my league. And it's made, it was a ton of work the last 2-3 cycles, but now we're kind of at the point where you're never fully on autopilot, but it's made my life a lot easier, I want to say, just being able to get those like-minded individuals and, take a little bit off my plate. So, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, if I didn't enjoy it so much, because we're not getting paid. That's the biggest thing. It's all for fun, and it can be a very, very thankless job a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Thankless is the work of baby.
Yes, facts. That was a word.
Yeah. Simba, how about you, man? What's the life of a commissioner?
For me, it's very fun. It's rewarding. It's very rewarding for me personally. For me, the way I've become MSR commissioner it still surprises me because it was not written this way. It was not expected to be this way. I wasn't looking to be the commissioner. I've never been a person that felt like I had to be a commissioner in order to, it just kind of came up on its own. And since that point, it's just you just kind of see things differently in terms of what it takes to completely run a community, keep everything in line. How do you want the energy and kind of just the whole the aura of what you're trying to put together and kind of run on a day-to-day basis. But the life of a commissioner, if I can try to simplify this as best I can, because I can really go on times. For me, it's fun. I'll put it that way. It's very fun. Even like my man spoke to about the thankless part of it. It's very fun because what I've realized is that the people that that give it a lot of respect and understand what you're about in terms of how you contribute to a league or what you're about. You see that when things really go into another level, you see where that love and respect is. And I will say that I've seen some opinions of me change that I don't understand. But overall, I think I'm very much into just keeping what's the good rolling and work on the things that may be that could be growth areas or things like that. The life of commission with the MSR, man, it's a day-to-day, man. We have a I speak all the time, man. We got a serious gumbo in our community, man. We got a really serious gumbo. We got a lot of guys that are at the bare bones are competitive, really love to get after it and put their best stick skills on display. And I feel like we have one of those communities where we have a lot of guys that can go blow for blow with anyone. But then we also have folks that are really content driven and really creative, and putting those two together where you have people that may not be as much in the creative space but then they want to. They have the ideas. They have maybe the gumption to jump out there and do something they haven't done before, and then having them unlock things in themselves that maybe they didn't see. And then we have certain, things that we've been doing for folks that just want to have the initiative of putting training out there. And, we have guys helping with Streamlabs. We have people helping with Photoshop. We have guys that are just doing different things on their own, and they bring it to the table. It's just, sometimes it feels like you're not being heard. It feels like, you can be looked at as the tyrant, which I don't understand. And it's all for me because I'm a very selfless person. I really like for others to enjoy themselves. I like to lead by example, and that's just been my thing. That's why certain things just kind of surprise me about how I've gotten here, because I never really wanted to be. I'm not a person that just like to be on Front Street or have to be known as the guy. Like, I guess the respect has kind of gone along ahead of me, and at times where I didn't necessarily see it for myself. But I just love the fact that I am a key part of something that's moving on a day-to-day basis and constantly growing. I say this all the time, speaking to people like Falco, seeing what he's done in 4 or 5 short months here in the community, and how he's literally changed the game in certain ways. This podcast is literally an example of that, like something that I've had an idea about for years, but necessarily didn't know how to put certain pieces in play, and how he just went after it. And in a space where I was kind of a little bit nervous, because at one point in time, I was kind of the guy doing a little bit of everything, and I kind of felt overwhelmed, and Falco came in and took the head on. So that was a signal of my leadership. That was something I felt like, okay, you know what, this is actually something I can really put a stamp on. I enjoy it. I love putting a lot of good people together, doing things. I kind of call myself a quarterback in a sense, no pun intended, but just how I'm able to kind of put certain pieces together and not really look at it that way. It's just kind of like, hey, this guy does this. He mentioned this as well. Once you connect with him, just tell him Timbo puts you through. He's a good person. You may have to catch him on a different schedule. Managing schedules, managing different attitudes sometimes, managing something at least in the last couple months, a little bit of undermining and folks feeling that they can, like, every opinion is a good opinion. Those things you just kind of want to manage those things a little bit, but my goal for me is just always having the right mindset at all times. And one thing that Soden can speak to, I connect with him on a lot of things. And I'll ask him, like, hey, man, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? Like, how would you handle it? What's something that you would maybe, kind of implement in a situation? Just having always, you never feeling like it's always just about you, and being able to use those resources. People that maybe will be looked at as beneath you in certain spaces, but they can really add a lot to what you're trying to do. Just always being versatile. That's one thing I put. I'm a very versatile guy. I multitask as a living, like with my job and what I do, kids, the whole night. I literally multitask on a day-to-day basis. So having to do that and putting it in this space, I'm enjoying it. Like you said, it's thankless at times. You were the guy. Timbo was the guy. He was the GOAT, and then now I'm on charge, and all of a sudden maybe I might be a bad guy because I'm a straight shooter, and that's one thing about me. I will shoot straight. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but it's very direct. I don't do anything for personal intent. It's just about the business of this league and what's the best thing for the league at the time. And I'm always thinking about that. And that's something I think people forget about, but that's something that's always on my mind, about how I can make the MSR better than it was yesterday, or something I can do to improve where we may have been falling short before. So the life of a commissioner is very vast, and it's all over the place. But for me, I wouldn't change it, because I absolutely love it.
I love that. Quick plug, really quick. Everybody that's listening to the show, head on over to maddensimrevolution.com. Click on that StubHub link. Get your tickets for the hopefully upcoming NFL season. Go through our league and get your tickets. So let's move on to you. What's the life of a commissioner of Soden Bowl? You guys have been 100 seasons plus. Let's hear about the ins and outs.
Life of a commissioner. I think these guys hit the nail on the head. Shout out to Timbo, back at you, man. Yeah, one of the best up and coming commissioners I've had the pleasure of knowing would be Timbo, doing a fantastic job both in Soden Bowl and in the MSR, obviously. Life of a commissioner. Well, I treat my commissioner status probably more like a small business. Now, it's not there to make money, so don't get that confused. But what you put in to your franchise, to your community, is what you'll get out of it. If you're one of these guys that's you pull the keys out and kind of hand them to somebody else, where you're going to get that product of that somebody else you give the keys to. With that being said, I have the pleasure of having one of the best staffs that I feel that I've ever had in the last couple years, and even through the course of Soden Bowl. I really feel that a staff and a community really helps you as a commissioner, kind of what Nick said. Having that good staff, a dedicated staff, and a dedicated community really helps you as a commissioner. But as a commissioner, you still have to be active. You have to be forward thinking. You have to be supportive. And, again, what the hard work you put in is what you will get back in return. So I'm a firm believer of that.
I love it. BSK, what about you, man? Go ahead, Timbo.
Yeah, I want to add something to that, man. You saying small business is like exactly how I carry it, because like you said, it's not about making money or anything like that, but like it's just literally the mindset of like, okay, I have an idea. How can I maximize this idea? Who can I put in play to maybe help bring the idea out a little bit more? What do we already have that we can benefit from and maybe tailor to what we're trying to do? Like those ideas are it really carries the idea of a businessman. Like you really have to, like I'm a night owl for what it's worth, and I'm always up creating the later hours of night. A lot of things that I do, I just wrote a blog that honestly took me like 2 seasons of this cycle to do, because I didn't know how I don't know what perspective I wanted to write from. And I really take my time when I put blogs out, because it's just, I always feel like writing from a different perspective than most people would expect really draws them in, and it makes them pay attention to what you're talking about if you give them a reason to keep going each and every line. So those are the things that I look for. How can I top myself? That's one thing. How can I improve on something on myself? And then you look at the staff that you have. You look at the people that you're empowering. You look at the guys that maybe that wouldn't have done something had they not seen it from a person that maybe would be in a commissioner or admin position. Like posting that blog today in my Genesis chat of our Ascension League and having them read it, and then them reach out and DM like, what can I do to, how do you write like that? And mind you, I don't think I'm like this scribe. But people look at certain things that we're doing in this Madden community. It's like, man, like that's a different way of talking about what you do on the controller. It's like, how do you put that perspective out there? And I'm looking at like, wow, he saw something that maybe I was trying to get him to see. Now it's cooking. Things just cook in a certain way when you have a mindset of cultivating the best of those. And I feel like when you put something out there, you stick it at a wall and just hope that it comes together. Sometimes it's not as strong as something where you come at a price plan, you start from the top, you maybe include someone and ask them their opinion on it, and then they can give you a way to get from point A to point B, and then now you're going along from there. And I feel like that business mindset sometimes is really helpful, because it just really generates the best of whatever you're trying to put out.
Yeah, I'm with that. BSK, man, how about you as a commissioner of Destiny? What's the life of a commissioner of Destiny?
It's like organized chaos. You gotta. I
like that.
You gotta be willing to understand that.
Wakanda, how do you feel about it, man?
Well, first of all, I want to say a big shout out and respect to all you guys. I help run the Madden Gridiron Simulation, the Madden Gridiron series. It's a free roam league, and I've had membership specifically from XCFL and Destiny. I think some of our best members and longest tenure members are actually from both of these leagues. I've interacted with Nick briefly in instances previously in the past, and the one thing that I always say too is it's cool when you have guys in other leagues, because they are representing you. And I wanted to kind of touch on what Soden and the others have mentioned. I kind of look at it as a living, breathing thing. It is an organism. Like, you have to cultivate it. You have to pay attention to it. You have to give it TLC. And like you guys were saying, you have to put time into it and really try to make sure that it's self-sustaining, but also still be engaged to the point where your membership is seeing that. So for me, I feel like it's a delicate balance where our league's a little bit different. Like I said, we are. I think I'm the only free roam league on here where we don't really have necessarily the rule set that other leagues do, and I have to be willing to communicate to people that are joining our community that this might not be the best fit for them, because everybody has a preference on how they want to play. You have your no switch, your sim relaxed, and then basically no rules. So it's the biggest thing that I've noticed on the day-to-day is making sure, because I feel like we as commissioners, we impact culture the most. And that culture starts at the top and works its way down. If you think about, companies and brands and even teams that struggle, particularly, usually have some issues with ownership at the top, whether it be incompetence, whether it be ignorance, whether it be arrogance. Those things inhibit your organization all the way down. So I feel like the responsibility of a commissioner is you're impacting culture. So whether that means, interacting with new members or checking in with somebody that was disgruntled from the night before because of something that happened, or just letting your staff know that you appreciate the hard work that they're doing. Those things make a difference because you don't know what that other person is going through. More often than not, the majority of the CFM community is male. So you're dealing with husbands, brothers, sons, fathers, businessmen, people that are running their own companies. We all have jobs. This don't pay. And can be expensive, has been alluded to. So I try to make sure that I honor that time. In my league, we have a players association. So aside from our admin staff, we actually have members of our membership that liaison on behalf of the rest of the members of the community, and they will interface with us on issues or things that they see, whether it be gameplay from the commissioner or a rule that the league has kind of decided that they don't think works. For me, it's kind of interesting because I'm in immersion content-based leagues, and my league is not. So when Tim and I were running the league together, we kind of had a vision of where we wanted to take that league, and the membership said no, that's not what we're doing. So to me, it's almost just as important to lead as it is to listen. That's what being a commissioner has taught me, because I might think something is a great idea, and my membership might say that's not necessarily what we want at this point. And I think how you respond to that again goes back to, like I was saying, with culture, because you can try to put the hammer down and say no, we're going to do this, but then you might end up with 10 open spots to fill. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those things where it's a humbling and rewarding experience, at the same time, where I can think I'm 100% right in the situation, and then we go to discuss it, and I'm the only one in the room that thinks that it was right. And it's like, all right, well, my membership is telling me something different. So now as a leader, what do? Do I respond to that and take that constructively and then do what I can to improve the league? Or do I want to act like my feelings are hurt? Because we all know, we've all gotten those messages where we've had, whether it be, different, infractions or discipline, where people haven't always responded with that grace. But again, that stuff starts at the top. So if I set the tone that, I can't be challenged, just because I'm quote unquote the league commissioner, then that trickles down, the rest of the river. So, the day in the life is I'm lucky that I have a very seasoned community. I think we're at like 80% retention from Madden 16. We've got about 24 of the original 32 I think we still have. So the rules haven't really fluctuated. So it's pretty, cut and dry. If a guy gets in there and one of us isn't around, our players association, they have, the tools to be able to, make decisions as they see fit to a certain extent. And they kind of have a really good guideline of what we expect, and they do a really good job. So it makes it a lot easier. Like Nick was saying, like once you build that infrastructure and you're putting in the time and able to get a really strong base together, it does become easier. But then it also brings with it its own set of challenges where we might want to go in a new direction for something, or we might want to do something a little bit different. You have to cast the vision, but then be okay if the vision doesn't work. That's the biggest thing that I've learned is like, okay, I might have this idea, but if my membership doesn't want it, well, they don't want it. I can't, I can't force them to do something that they don't want to do or they don't feel like is the best direction in the league, because it's their league too. You can't ask for ownership. Pun intended. You can't ask for ownership in the league for guys to be invested and then be mad when they're invested. You know what I mean? So that was something I had to. It's one of those, be careful what you wish for, but in a good way. Like you want that. You want people engaged. You want people, in tune, even when the game isn't great. Like Madden 20 wasn't the greatest year, I felt like, game wise, but it was one of our best years. We migrated to Discord. Didn't have nearly as much turnover as we'd had in previous years. Guys stepped up in leadership roles, so it made my job a lot easier. And it was cool because I was able to, be a member in other leagues, whether it be in Soden Bowl or coming back to MSR. But I wouldn't have been able to do that if I wasn't confident in the staff that we had in our league. So those things, it's been fulfilling. But to answer that question, that day to day, it's kind of like being a parent, a boss, an older brother, but a peer at the same time, like all in one. Like you're managing so many different things depending on what's needed in the situation. And it really teaches you interpersonal communication. It really teaches you, interacting, how to be humble, like how to, humble yourself. You might think a certain way and people will see it completely differently. It teaches you a lot about perspective too, because you're looking at things a certain way and you might have this one finite view of something, but then your membership brings you something that's completely different. You don't want to, wash that out and then lose that perspective that could benefit your community at large. So basically all the things that you guys had already said.
I like that. Well, as the final segment here of the New Dawn podcast, I'm going to give you guys each a chance to shout out your league and why listeners out there should join your league. BSK, let's start with you because I know you got a draft to get to.
Yeah, definitely. We are a no switch league. We let the animation on the catch play out. Good, bad, indifferent. It's an adjustment even for myself. It's only the third year I've been in a league like this. Second year as the commish on the staff. So it's different, but you'll find it rewarding because you develop your players. You find out what type of players you need in that type of system to fit your scheme, and it's not just about holding down sprint and going sideline to sideline. So, Destiny is a great place to be. My staff, Misfit, Doughboy, they do a great job of jumping in and fixing things if by chance I've gone to sleep, early because I have 3 kids and I get up real early and go to work. So definitely give us a look on Daddy Leagues, and we're on. Yeah, so we are always looking to fill. We have 2 spots open for Madden 21. So give us a look. We'll find you a home.
There we go. I like it, and it is home of the Super Bowl runner-up, GM of the year. I'm just making that up. Falco. I'm just gonna throw that out there. My very own plug.
Just ruined your whole pitch, BSK, by saying he was in your.
Well, every family has one.
Sounds like Falco's one in a couple of families.
Yeah. I float around. Nick, how about you, man? Give us a plug for XCFL. Why should people join XCFL?
So XCFL, man, we're a no switch, and then we are actually a no user interception league, which I think we're the only one in this group, and one of the only ones kind of sticking around that is like that. And right away, people probably think, oh, it's because these guys don't have stick skills. It's because they don't, it's none of that. I mean, we have some very talented guys. We just don't like the idea that you can run around and make these crazy plays with these linebackers and different things like that. So we found rules to make it work. I think Kylo is a member in 3 of the leagues in here, Soden, MSR, and ours. And I mean, he's adjusted very nicely. He won a Super Bowl in ours. He wins a whole lot of games, that's for sure. He's really good, but he's adjusted really well. And I think if you talk to him, he would tell you maybe he thought the same thing at first, but he is a big fan of that rule now. With us, our goal is to get as deep in the franchise as possible without sacrificing content. And this cycle, we ended up making it. We're going to make it 14 seasons this cycle, while still putting on draft shows, everything. So we're a 72-hour advanced league that typically advances every 28 to 36 hours. So we got a lot of dedicated users that are all kind of, have the same mindset. And it's to get as deep as we can in the league. We love getting the Madden Gen players and, kind of creating the storylines for them. We have a really deep Madden Gen player Hall of Fame that we like to do because, those are your guys, your babies draft, and getting to play an entire career. The guy I drafted season 1 of the cycle is 34 years old. He's about to retire, and he literally played a whole cycle on my team. So it's that kind of thing that I think helps not set us apart because it's a bunch of great leagues, obviously, but it's one thing that I find a lot of fun, and all 32 of us feel the same way. So if you are looking for a league like that, we're open to everybody, man. We got a lot of guys who play in these other leagues out here too, and they really enjoy them all. So shout out to all you guys for running great leagues and keeping them going all throughout the August to August, all the way through the Madden 20 cycle.
Did you guys have the guy last year that took the Bills and jumped through a table?
That was us.
That's what I've been waiting to ask that the whole pod. I couldn't figure out how to fit that in.
He went out and bought a Bills what do you call it, podium. He does live. He has his neighbors acting as his players and stuff, and it is really cool and he's kind of made everybody else step up their game, because I was like, we had on our team selection show, we got to do jumping through a table. And it was really cool. So shout out to Robert, man. He's one of our best users we got.
That is so dope. I saw that on Twitter one day, and I was like, ain't no way.
Yeah, I know. Yep. My wife would be looking at me like, you're crazy. What are you doing? But more power to him, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Soden, what about you, man? The Soden Bowl. Give us a pitch.
All right. Well, first and foremost, I got to give a shout out to all the leagues in here. Nick, MSR, all you guys. Shout out to you guys. Soden Bowl, a little bit unique, maybe. We like to pride ourselves kind of being forward thinking. A lot of our suggestions by our community, we try to make them happen, kind of like a coaching tree, which we're releasing this year, and a full-fledged fantasy football league, all rolled into a Soden Bowl app that you can get on your smartphone. Kind of trying to do the things that Madden's kind of failing at and providing that for our community. So our guys are going to have the ability to go in and sign coaches on our website or through the app. Sign, your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, special teams coach, and you're going to have different perks, and that's going to affect your team in different ways with attributes and so on, so forth. And then the fantasy football app. These guys are going to go in, they're going to draft a fantasy football team, much like you would on ESPN, and then they're going to use those stats, which we tabulate on our website. Those stats are going to determine weekly winners, and you're just going to play a nonstop fantasy football league that runs side by side with the Soden Bowl.
Can I add one thing too?
Yeah, go ahead.
He's got one of the best broadcast teams ever. Like, if you watch their games, it's like watching Fox and then NFL Network and then CBS. All the guys that call the games, Kylo, Snipes, CMG, Soden himself, obviously, it's one of the best presentations in all of CFL.
I appreciate that. But yeah, we have a mentality of kind of quality over quantity, so we try to put the very best. I mean, we've delayed Super Bowls a day or so just so we could get the proper content out for them. We won't pump out 14 seasons a season, but we try to keep it going. We're a 72-hour advanced league, draft shows, daily shows. We try to involve the community as much as we can in some of these shows. Kylo, huge shout out to my wannabe Sith Lord, Kylo Ren. He does broadcasts for us. He does them for XCFL and MSR. He does a great job, and Snipes and CMG.
I love it. Now, Timbo, let them know why they should join our league.
SR.
Oh, y'all heard that? He said our league. Y'all heard that? Y'all other two? Y'all heard that?
I'm all in, baby. I'm all in.
That's all, man. I said earlier, man, we are a very deep melting pot. We have a lot of different guys there. As you all spoke to, have different guys from different leagues being a part of. We have some CFL guys, some AGS folks, Destiny, Tundra from Muck's come in. Community brought a few guys. Man, I just say that we are we're very heavy on content. I will put that up. We are very heavy on content, especially with the visuals. Our live streams is pretty much our staple show, the MSR Showdown. But what you get outside of that, in terms of what you get coming to the league, man, you just get leadership that is very driven on putting out the best possible Madden experience. Right now, we have a couple of things going on in terms of like just affirmation things that we put out there. But right now, everything is for the brand. That's one thing we put out. Like, we do a lot of things for this brand. It's all about building this brand and having something stabilized that we can all look back on years to come. Down the line, we're like, man, we were really a part of something dope, and not just because it's becoming more than a hobby for me. It's really gone past the hobby section for me. It's really just been something that's part of my life where I look forward to it on a day-to-day basis. We have a food channel that guys are really locked into. We put a lot of different things out there to really keep folks engaged and just completely immersed in what we have going on. But if I could speak from what you're getting from leadership, and myself, Falco, and a couple others, man, you're gonna get guys that are really just committed to just keeping everything together. We work through a lot of different things, and there's been a lot of transition for us throughout this Madden 20 cycle. Shout out to Lenny. Lenny was the actual creator and inventor of the MSR. And he was the one that came to me and said he felt like I was the one that could take this to the next direction. And that was something that, like I said earlier, I'm still surprised by, because I was not expecting it, wasn't looking forward to it, wasn't planning for it. It was just something that he felt that, I could take over. And I'm pushing it. Everything about this cycle has been about repair, but like just kind of building on our core things that we can do the best. And now we're really heading strong into Madden 21, man. The way I feel now is how I felt going into 20. It's just we had some things happen. We had a reboot. We had a lot of stuff that really slowed us down, our momentum this cycle. But we just have a lot of great guys, man. A lot of great guys that, great competition is one thing we really hone ourselves on. We have a lot of good folks that can ball, but we have a lot of guys that bring a lot of color and a lot of great visual aspects to what we do, man. Especially from the content, the creative standpoint, but then also just from people that are able to add, just different things, just different, the written piece, blogs. You have guys that are doing like their own trainings and trying to really get people up to speed. So everyone at some point, all 32 members of the MSR and in Genesis, they can all contribute something that's unique and that they love and that they want to do to add, to contribute to this brand. You can follow us on Twitter at MSR League. Also, we have an Instagram account, Madden_sim_revolution, and also our YouTube page, Madden MSR League. Our website is maddensimrevolution.com. You can fill out an application there. I'll be the one that'll be getting in touch with you if you are interested. But man, I am extremely humbled and excited for this episode alone. It gives me a lot of pleasure from what we're building and what we have coming. And we welcome all folks that are willing to ball and create. That's my tagline right there. Just ball and create, man. Just be as creative as possible. Make sure you bring your game as well.
Let's go. Love that, fellas. I appreciate every one of you guys hopping on here.
Dang, I can't pitch my league, Falco. That's how you feel? Man, hit the button.
Shoot, I forgot. Yeah, go ahead.
Just kidding. I'm in MSR and also in Soden Bowl as well. And both of those are fantastic leagues. I've heard great things about XCFL and Destiny. We share some overlap in membership with those two leagues as well. So all these are great leagues. Really, it's kind of like going to an ice cream shop and figuring out what flavor you like. I think that they're all good choices and fantastic leagues. I'm the co-commissioner of the Madden Gridiron Series. It's MGS. It's myself, June, Jeff, and Jackson are the co-commissioners. And then we also have a players association made up of about 7 of our senior members from the community. We are by our standards, it'd be relaxed sim free roam league with some rules in place. So this gives you the more emphasis on user identity and being able to create your own game plans and stuff. Highly competitive league. The core of our membership has been together since Madden 16. We have weekly broadcasts that are hosted by League Crawler. And you can send us applications on dataleague.com /MGSS is the league website. And you can join there. But awesome group of people. Right now we are done. We in relatively early. We usually are done at the end of spring, going into summer, just so guys can have that time off and kind of build that hype towards the next Madden title that comes off. So we will be starting the process to look at who'll be staying with us for 21 and then getting the ball rolling towards team selection in the next coming weeks here. So you can send us an application at daddyleagues.com /MGSS. And also all the other great leagues that have been mentioned as well. Falco, you hater.
I was going to say, I'm officially your least favorite admin now. I know.
No, yeah, you're working on me, man. You and DK, man, I'm telling you.
Oh, man. I apologize. But yeah, fellas, I appreciate all you guys hopping on here and talking about the CFM community and Madden 21 and everything that's going on, and just much love. Hopefully we can do this again. I would love to do this again once Madden 21 hits the shelves and we get the first look. I'd love to dive into your own leagues and see what's going on with the CFM community, and hopefully EA developers will listen. I know I will hound them until they do. Timbo knows I'm a dog until I get what I want. So I'm going to hound them. But on that note, NDP, we're out.